So we shall be looking at when to use the and, or the symbol and in AP7. So we shall be looking at the guidelines on when to use and or the symbol and. Then we shall also be looking at the paragraph example, an example of how to use the tool in a paragraph, and then we shall have a summary. We shall have a summary of whatever we have learned so far. So let us start with looking at the guidelines of when to use and or the symbol and. So you're saying the first guideline is that and or the symbol and are used when you have two or more others. That is the first guideline. So that whenever we have to use either of the two, then we must have two or more others. We cannot use them when we have a single order. Another guideline, the second guideline, is that in case of a narrative citation, separate the orders with and, the and. So you see, in case of a narrative citation, you use and. Okay. Guideline number 3. In the case of a parenthetical citation, separate the orders with the symbol and. The guideline number 4 is that if there are three or more orders, only include the first order's last name followed by a tal, meaning that this tal means and others. So to summarize, what we have looked at is that we use them whenever we have two or more orders. So, but the and, this A and D is used only when we have a narrative citation. But for the symbol and, this and is used when we have a parenthetical citation. So let us look at an example. In a paragraph. So you can see in this case we have a reference. This is a reference that we shall be looking at. This one. So we have Harris and Cook 2020. So first thing that you should note is that in reference we use the symbol and. That is the first thing you should note, that in APA7 we use the symbol and in the reference. But when we come to the text in-text citation, we see that whenever we are using a narrative citation, that is when you use the and. So when you come here in a paragraph example, this is a paragraph. So you can see according to Harris and Cook. So you can see here we use and, the A and D. But when you come at the end of the sentence, the parenthetical citation, this one we use the symbol and. So that is the difference. So, but when now we have more than two orders. When we have more than two orders, for example, in this reference, we have three orders. In this case, we use and, as I noted earlier. In reference, we use the symbol and. But because it has three orders, then we use a tal. So now that is how we use the symbol and D, and that's why we use that is how we use the and, the ND, and the symbol and. Then let us look at a summary. So if we have the order type, then we have the parenthetical, and we have a narrative citation. So I have the order type or the order number. We have the parenthetical citation, and then we have the narrative citation. So if we have one author, or what we call a single author, if we have one author or what we call a single author, then we write it like this in a parenthetical citation because it's a single author. Then in narrative we write it like that, meaning this one is at the center of a sentence or at the middle of a sentence. We use it like that in narrative citation. This is at the end of the sentence, parenthetical citation. Then if we have two authors, we said that if we have two authors, that is when we use the symbol and or and. So in the case of a parenthetical citation, we said that we use the symbol and like that. But in the case of a narrative citation, we use the word and. But when we come to three or more others, in the case of APA 7, we no longer use the and. We now use et al. Now for the case of a parenthetical citation, we put everything in parentheses and then we use et al. But in the case of a narrative, citation, we use et al. Remember now here we don't put in a comma. We use the surname. We put et al. Meaning and others. Then we put the year into bracket. So these are that is summary of how we use the word and the symbol and in APA 7 references and in text citation. So one thing that I should emphasize is that in APA 7 the references we use the symbol and. In references we use the symbol and. Whenever we are citing in parentheses, we use the symbol and. But when we are citing in a narrative, we use the word and. So that is how we cite, or that is when we use and the symbol and in APA 7. Thank you.